Hello, good morning. Welcome to lesson 1. Let me just quickly check the volume over here to make sure you can hear me. And if this is your first time coming to a workshop with me, biggest welcome. You are going to love it. I try to space the learning out over a few days. So we've got 3 lessons in total and we're going to space them out over this week. I'm also going to be emailing you if you signed up via email, just to remind you, because if you're anything like me, you might have a million things that you have signed up to. So that's the emails you're going to get from me as well. I am here in my studio room in South Wales, and I also have my wife Kath, who is on the other side of the room doing all the digital stuff. So she's got her headphones on and she is plugged into the internet. So if anything happens while we are learning, she'll let me know and we'll pause. If our connection drops off, then just wait for us and we will reconnect and we'll pop back, because you know, stuff happens online as well. So first things first, if you could do me a big favor, is give this video a like right now, or type in the chat hello or something like that to engage with the video. If you're on YouTube, please do the same thing, just give it a like or chat. And the reason for that is because when we are on social media doing a lesson, it doesn't reach everybody that has registered. It's just the way things are. It's super annoying. And if you interact with the video, it lets everybody else know. And sometimes it even takes up to 8 minutes for YouTube or Facebook to notify other people that we are live. So please do go ahead and do that. I can see that you're doing that already, so thank you so much. Now, I'm not going to jump into the chat right away this morning and say hi to everybody, because I've got so much to cover. But at the end of the lesson today, if there's any extra questions you have, or if you're watching this on the replay, please do ask questions. The more you put into this 3 lessons, the more you're going to get out of it. If you're brand new to watercolor and brand new even to drawing, you might be a little bit nervous and you might think, well, I'm not going to, I'm just going to kind of stay in the sidelines. I'm going to cheer everybody on silently, and that's perfectly fine. If you are more outgoing and you're like, I've never done anything like this before, but I love to get involved and I love to see what people are doing, that's fine. I'm not telling you how to act. I'm just saying that whatever is best for you to get the most out of these 3 lessons, please do that, and know that this is a really safe, wonderful space for you to learn watercolor. I love doing these workshops. This is my last one this year. I've got some special things happening for my school. I have an art skill academy, and for my students there, I've got lots of special things happening for them. But as far as free workshops go, this will be the last one this year. So we're going to throw everything at it so that we make it really special. Now, if you haven't met me before, you might think that I have been an awesome artist my whole life. I have been drawing my whole life, but I have not been awesome at watercolor. Actually, only for the last 10 years I've been doing watercolor, and I wanted to show you where I started. And the reason I want to do that is because I want to be really honest with you. Some teachers will say to you, you're going to be amazing, you're going to sell all your paintings, you're going to, you're going to go and be, just the next Picasso or whatever it is. And I just want to be really honest with you. The only way to make art and to make paintings and to make drawings that you're proud of is to build skill. And I wanted to show you where I started. So I'm just going to put this up on the screen really quickly. And I wanted to show you the picture on the left, which is just from, I mentioned the other day, just some really crappy tiger watercolor paper. And I was living on a boat at the time and I wanted to paint a canal boat, a narrowboat, and I wanted to paint some swans, but I had all the enthusiasm in the world, but none of the skills. And so what I did was I started to develop the skills. And this other painting, the one on the right, is a close-up of a swan with all the textures of the feather, and you can kind of see the eye poking away there. And I wanted to show it to you, not to kind of show off, but to show you that I wasn't born with the ability to paint amazing swans. I wasn't born with the ability to paint amazing anythings, but I do know how to build skills. I'm very, very good at teaching, skill building. I've done 15 years of teaching in primary schools and with adults, and I know how to build those skills with you. So that is what we're going to do. So if you're thinking, oh, I wasn't so good at school, what am I going to do? What we're actually going to do is we're going to put some marks on the page today, and we're going to start our drawing. And you might be thinking, well, that's fine for you because, you know, you're already an artist. But what about me sitting at home and just kind of thinking, I'm just, you know, I don't even think I'll be able to do it. So I want to share with you what one of my students made. And this, I think, is, I'm just going to pop it up really quickly show you something that Sue wrote, which I really, really loved. I do run a membership. I'm going to talk about that another day, but I wanted to show you this really beautiful, beautiful painting, and it was done by Sue. And the thing that I loved about it is that she found the step-by-step guides really helpful. And this is what I value from my students, is I value the fact that they give me feedback and say what is really helpful. I find step-by-step things really helpful as well. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take you step-by-step through lesson 1. We've had a little bit of technical difficulties. Are you ready? Just type a yes in the comments. So I know it's a little bit weird with a computer and all that kind of stuff. Are you ready? Just a yes in the comments so that I know that we are here. And again, if you're watching this in the replay, you can type a yes so that you feel that you're participating. Let me share with you my down cam while you are typing your yeses. You can get yourself started and set up, and we can get our basic shapes beginning. All right, this is what we want by the end of the 3rd lesson. Now, the confusing thing sometimes is that we think that we have to have this by the end of the 1st lesson, and then people get confused about where to start. But actually, for the 1st lesson, we just want our outline, because I also want to show you how to make this gray color. So we've got a little bit of a bonus today as well. I've got my paint, and I am just using a little travel set of Winsor & Newton. It's got enough colors in there to do this whole painting, but it doesn't have the gray. It probably has a white. I've bought the gray and put the gray in myself, so I want to teach you how to make that gray today. And also, it's a really good skill to have. The other thing I've got today is a little bit of printer paper for my sketching. It doesn't have to be printer paper. It can be the back of an official letter. It can be any kind of paper you've got lying around, but don't do your practice sketching on watercolor paper, because if you practice your sketching on your watercolor paper and then you want to rub anything out, all of your finger marks are going to be on your watercolor paper, and your fingers are going to leave oil on that paper, and it's not going to be very good, because as soon as you touch this paper and you have a little bit of oil from your fingers from touching your face or wherever, the water won't stick to that part of the paper. So for today, we want to make sure we have our image on our scrap piece of paper, so that we can trace it onto our watercolor paper, so that we're really happy with the image and we're not using our watercolor paper as a trial. We're using it as best. So hopefully that makes sense. I do have a little bit of watercolor paper spare over here for when we make gray, because we need to make the gray on the actual watercolor paper, because then we can see what it actually looks like on watercolor paper. So quick yes in the comments if you have printer paper or some sort of paper to draw on. You have a pencil to draw with, just a normal standard pencil, nothing fancy, HB it might say on the side, an eraser, and that's what we need to get started now with our basic shapes. So you've got those things ready. Also, I'd really like to know, is this your first drawing in like 20 years? I love it when we have brand new people with us and they are like, this is my first drawing in 20 years. And this is the first time I picked up a pencil in 20 years since I was at school. I really want to know if that is you as well. So let me know in the comments. These are our main shapes that we're doing today, so let's practice them. Let's practice a rectangle, and we're going to practice a thin rectangle now. Look how dark my line is for my rectangle. That is too dark, but that is dark so that you can see it at home. If I was here without you guys, my rectangle would be really light. So I want you to practice holding your pencil however you want and just adjusting the pressure of the pencil. All sketching is making marks on the paper, okay? And one of the ways that I like to teach sketching is by basic shapes, and hopefully we can all draw a rectangle. Now, when you're practicing your rectangle, you might be like, oh no, where's it off to? Oh, I've got to straighten it up. That's fine. Look, these things happen. And you might be like having to run the other line parallel. You might be like, oh no, and then you might end up with a weird rectangle. And that's just a practice. There's no judgment in practicing. I think we learn very young that we have to be perfect the first time so that nobody teases us. But actually, it is quite fun to do weird rectangles, and it should be celebrated that we're putting these marks on the paper. Now, if you're really worried about how you can't get a straight line, here's a great trick for you, okay? You can start here at the top of your rectangle by putting a little dot. And remember, your dots are going to be nearly invisible. And then how long you want your rectangle to go for, you're going to put another dot. And now suddenly your hand has something to work towards, okay? And we're going to go slowly like ants. We're going to march our ants down the page, one ant footprint at a time. And each time we're marching our ant down the page, imagine there's the ant, right? And here he is. I'll forget how many segments ants have or even how many feet they have. I'm going to assume 6 because they're insects. I don't know. Maybe 4. I don't know. Anyway, this ant has stepped in a puddle of graphite. And so as it comes out the other end of the graphite, it has little ant footprints. And that's what I mean. We're doing these little lines. And each time we stop, we look down here and we try to make sure that the little ant lines are going to meet up with the other dot. And that way we can correct before we end up with a big a big divergence on our path. We can hopefully make little corrections. And what will happen is if you're kind of, oh no, I'm off on the wrong way, and you do a little bit of a mistake, because you've only pressed really lightly, you can come back and you can start to correct that mistake. And that becomes something you erase. And it's just a lot easier than trying to draw the whole rectangle the first time, especially if you're struggling a little bit with straight lines. But this rectangle section is the stem of our glass. Now, even if you're deciding to trace, there's no judgment in tracing. Leonardo da Vinci traced. We're going to trace this onto our page today. It's perfectly fine. You want to just practice this anyway, because it's a really good skill to have. Watercolor is all about starting with a really good image. And what I do inside the Unlimited membership is every single month we do a sketch lesson. We might not always use basic shapes. Sometimes we'll use tracing, sometimes we'll use a formula, but all the time it's building these kinds of skills. Okay, so we've got our rectangles. Give yourself a little tick. I love that. Renee, you already have the shape. Awesome. And you're happy with it? I love that. Just give yourself a little bit of time to practice now with your freehand. Yeah, thanks, Jill. Sorry about that. Is that a bull ant? I'm not allowed to get into my bull ant. So I don't even know what this is. Is this a crab? We'll just say. Is it a crab? I don't know. And again, this is not about me being the best drawer in the world. This is about me being able to teach you to draw. I can't keep images in my head to draw. So if I'm not looking at an image, I can't put it on the page. So obviously I'm not looking at an ant at the moment. Let's go on to the second shape. Let's go on to the second shape, guys. First shape, rectangle. Second shape, trapezium, I think it's called. It's the one that has a flat top, and then parallel to the top is a bottom that is longer. And then the two sides are diagonal. And that's our trapezium. It would be really good if we could put this trapezium on the bottom of our glass so that it looked like the stem of the glass here. So it would be really good if we practiced drawing it so that one side was symmetrical to the other side. That is the thing, because if you look at this little guy here, if I did a line of symmetry down here, this bit's a little bit bigger, and generally with glasses they're kind of the same. So let's have a little practice. Let's do an invisible line, and let's practice doing what I think is a trapezium. So we're going to do a little line coming out here, and you could even measure it. You can measure it with the side of your pencil and kind of be like, oh yeah, this bit is about this long, this bit is about this long, and so you can kind of get it so that it's a similar width. And then the bottom, we can take it down like a rectangle so that it's the same width down here. But we can take it over about 1 centimeter. So we're taking it over the same amount of distance, and then we can join that up, and then we can join that up, and we can join that up. And then we have a more symmetrical trapezium. And when we're kind of thinking about the shape that's going to go on the bottom of our glass, we actually probably want it to be splayed out a little bit more. So when we're doing that, we could even take it just checking that it's symmetrical. We might look at it like that, or we might think it needs to come out even further. So we've got a starting one here. We might even take this bottom line out another centimeter. So you're really kind of just looking at adding these little shapes in until you're kind of happy with it. you're happy with that kind of trapezium shape. Plus it's really cool to be able to create this little glass. I don't think we do enough drawing. Some people do. I know I've had a few people join up to this workshop and they said to me, I'm really good at drawing, I'm not good at painting. And for those people, I love that for you. Now, for the top of our glass, we're actually going to do like a fluffy cloud. Can you see that? We go curve, curve, curve. Quite lovely. So let's practice that down here. So for the curves, I often just say they're smiley faces, aren't they? So we've got a smile. And then we have another smile. And another smile. And then we can join that up. And we can erase these smiley bits here because that margarita glass is going to come along that way. And we want that to be symmetrical as well. So it takes a little bit of refining. You might kind of divide it in half and be like, well, I kind of feel like that's quite accurate, but say yours was a little bit further along, you would extend the top a little bit more, and then you would take your line down a little bit more. You can kind of always adjust them to make them have a little bit more margarita in your bowl. And if this is the first time you've ever used basic shapes to make yourself a margarita glass, I do also hope that you are being kind to yourself. So here's my 3 basic shapes. I'm going to take a sip of coffee because you're probably practicing these at home. The hardest part is getting both sides the same, Jackie. You are completely right. The other thing that you can do is you can always fold your page in half. So this is another piece of printer paper. You can always fold your kind of piece of paper in half so that you've already got that fold, and then you can make those shapes on one side and try to repeat the same shape on the other side so that you kind of get this more of an accurate shape. But yeah, definitely I think for this image, the trickiest thing is the symmetry. Cute ant, I rubbed it out. Can you remind me when these classes are on once a month? Oh, you mean they're inside the membership. So when you're a member, you get an email. I think you get an email. Yeah, and you get a creativity calendar as well. So the sketch lessons are on the first Friday of every month, unless I have a big project planned for you. Like in November, we're doing a big Christmas project. So but then I email you those informations as well. This technique is great. Thanks, Lena. All right. Let me know in the comments, because I also want to take you through the color gray. Let me know in the comments, do you want to compile these basic shapes onto our piece of paper and trace them onto our watercolor paper together? Or do you want to do that for homework, ready for Wednesday? Do you want me to draw the whole shape with you? Or do you want to do it for homework? So maybe in the comments, write so that it's quick for you to write. You could write something like homework or draw. All right, and you have a lot of down cam today, guys, because Kath is too scared to put it onto my face. So
I can do it.
Hi. No, it's fine. I don't want to lose anyone. But just in case you're like, oh, why am I watching your hands all the time? And usually Kath will do a split screen. We'll go in and practice that before Wednesday so that we've got the digital component down a little bit more. We've been doing this for 10 years and genuinely every single time something will be exciting. Okay, draw. Hello, Liz. No offense, Liz, needs zero help drawing it on a page. Liz's vote is null. Liz is one of our members.
Liz is asking also, how wide does the base need to be in relation to the ballpark?
It's a really good question. I will show you my actual picture. Okay, let's put this on this side. Let's move the paint out. Lots of people going, I'm not doing this for homework, lady. Were you like that at school? You know, your teacher used to say, do you want to do it now or do you want to take it home? And you'd be like, no, I'm doing it now. I'm watching TV when I get home. Okay, I love it. I don't mind at all. Just teasing you. All right, is that set up, Kath?
Yep.
Okay, this is what we are copying from. Lots of artists will say, oh, I can only copy. Well, guess what? That's what everybody in the whole universe does. We just all copy. Even if it's from our imagination, we're copying something we have already thought of. Okay, so let's have a look. I think Liz asked a really good question. The base seems to be slightly smaller than the margarita glass. So I don't have a ruler at the moment, but if I am going to sketch it out here, I'm going to kind of see how accurate I can go. So the first thing I'm going to do is start off with a little rectangle, and I'm kind of starting, let's say, the top of my rectangle is kind of in the middle of my page. See, this is my middle line. Kath's gone and got me a ruler. Kath's gone and got Liz a ruler. Here you go, Liz. The bottom of the margarita is 9.5 centimeters. Put that over here because I know you'll ask. So here we've got around about halfway, we have a stem of a glass coming down, and let's say the stem of our glass is 8 centimeters. If you have a ruler, you can even use the ruler to make a straight line. I hardly ever use rulers, but you know, there you go. All right, so we're gonna make it, I think it's probably about 1 centimeter wide. And if you don't have a ruler, your pinky finger, possibly a lot of the time, with men it's sometimes a little bit different, but if you don't press your pinky finger down too flat, your pinky finger is about the width of 1 centimeter. So if you don't have a ruler at the moment, you're just kind of looking and going, is that thicker than my finger or is it thinner than my finger? And that's kind of how you can kind of measure, you know, 8 little fingers down. I'm a big believer in formulas. So I won't draw a pinky finger here because it will look really weird, and then you will tease me because it will not look like a anything normal. All right, so we can take our little stem down here. I might do mine a little bit longer, and then I'm going to take the bottom bit, the trapezium bit, and I'm going to take it out probably about 5 centimeters that way and about 5 centimeters that way. And again, if you don't have a ruler, just thinking, can I fit 5 of my pinkies? 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got 4 there. I've got about 4 on each side, so I'll just make it a little bit wider. And again, this is still on scrap paper, so we're just figuring things out. And I've got my fold in the wrong part of my page, so I'm just going to move that. So I've got this much and this much. That looks about right to me. I'm not super fussed with it, but I'm going to curve the edges a little bit. There we go. Nice stem on my margarita glass. Now, when we come to looking at its realism, where it has all the curves and whatnot, that isn't right now. This is where people sometimes get confused at the beginning and they go, yes, but look how this looks like a science beaker and that looks like a wine glass. Well, yes, because this has got some extra curves in it because the glass is fluid. But at the moment, we're just getting our basic shapes on the page, so don't stress too much about that. Okay, and so for the height of our margarita glass, we've got about 7 centimeters. So from here to here, and I will put a photo of this. I'll put a photo of this with the little markings in an email with the replay link this afternoon so that you can kind of see all of the little measurements as well. So you don't have to memorize it. Okay. So let's see. We're going to do a curve. That kind of bottom of the margarita glass. Now, I'm not in charge of what you drink at 5 o'clock, but if you have a glass, you might have just a glass like, it looks like a person. You might just have a glass like that. It's fine. I just thought it might be a little bit fancier to have that kind of cloud shape for our glasses. But don't forget, it's 5 o'clock somewhere. You have lots of different martini ideas and things like that. For November, I'm actually going to put a bonus for all of my new students of a really fun, it's 5 o'clock somewhere project. So this is kind of the start of the project. So it's going to be really fun. It's a really nice thing to do. So let's come up, do another cloud, and again, try to take that cloud up. I'm just going to make that a bit deeper because I want a little bit more alcohol in it. I need a bigger glass.
Especially today.
I think you've done really well today. All right, so I'm just going to erase this line. I love erasing lines because otherwise they get confusing. So if I was to I know it's an enlarged margarita glass, I think it still needs to be a little bit taller. So I just want to show you that even though I designed the lesson, there's still a lot of sketching and planning that kind of goes on. What you'll see if you're just watching YouTube or just watching Instagram, and you'll see artists make paintings suddenly, they're just like, and here they are, ta-da! And you haven't seen the 7 hours of mistakes. All right. All right. How are we doing with this one? Are we good? The chat is silent, which means you are all drawing. Teachers can tell. Linda's like, homework. I'm off to do this later. All right. And the circles that we're doing for our lemon, well, this is lime and orange, and our umbrellas, I actually did tracing. So I got something that was around about the same shape as a circle, the same kind of shape thing that I was doing to trace them on. But you can also give it a go freehand. We want a circle coming out and over around our glass. Now you see when I'm doing circles, sometimes I've got to go around them a few times to to shore them up so that they actually look like circles. The great thing about doing a lime is that they're not turned on a potter's wheel. They have some inconsistencies to the shape of them as well. So that's fine if that happens. A little bit of a circle there. You're welcome to trace that. We're going to put a little round triangle here. A round fluffy triangle because we have a bit of ice that is sitting outside the glass. And then our orange circle is behind the rest of the margarita. So you can come in, and again, it doesn't have to be a super accurate circle. I find it easier if you're going to do a circle to finish the whole circle. Even though we're going to rub it out, if you just do an arc, you are not going to get the right angle, possibly. Liz will. The rest of us won't. Liz will, and then she'll be like, I didn't do this very well, and it'll be amazing. Liz, you know I'm just teasing you. It's easy to tease people who are very clever. And then for our umbrella, we are going to do some little flicks. So we're going to take it around and we're going to flick it here and bring it under. Now, I am a child of the 70s, and there was many a cocktail party that my parents went to where they had these little umbrellas, and I was obsessed with them. And if you, I don't know if they were a big thing in the UK, but in Australia, they actually had little matchsticks. So it kind of went, and we're going to put it in here. So it's going to be a little bit thicker as it goes in the top. They're actually little matchsticks. And at the top here, it had a little kind of white skirt on that it attached everything to. And then a little top rectangle. And that was kind of, and it was all like little papery and stuff like that. So I wasn't allowed to have a cocktail, but I did really enjoy the little playing with the umbrellas, and I wanted to capture that as well on the drawing. But you can have a little practice. It's a little bit of a weird design. You're welcome to trace that one onto the page as well if you're kind of feeling like it doesn't completely look how you want it to look. I'm just going to change that a little bit. I tend to draw quite small. So I'm often, if you notice, I'm often erasing things and enlarging them. And I think that I happen to be quite a miniature drawer. Other people will be drawing really big, and half their line will be off the page, and they'll be like, why is my painting so big? And we're just all different at how we handle the pencil and how we draw differently. I think that's everything that I need in my artwork. So what I'm going to do now is at the back of my picture, as long as I'm happy with it, I'm like, oh yes, I'm happy with that. I'm going to trace around the front so that I can see it. So I have I'm tracing it around with my black pen, and I'll show you why. And now imagine I've traced all of it. When I turn it over, if it's pencil, I can't see where to put my shading, but if I've used the black pen, I can see where I've got to put a bit of shading here. Okay, you can kind of see that in the picture. So the tracing around it is more to help us see where we're going to trace it onto our page. Now, if you're not going to trace it onto your page and you're going to freehand it onto your watercolor paper, that's fine. So here, when I come down to my trapezium, I'm going to flick this out a little bit more and curve it. And then I'm taking a little bit of a curve around. See that? See how I flicked that bottom rim out a little bit more? So that it's a little bit more rounded. Got this umbrella. I've got that little frilly paper bit and the little rectangle. Little matchstick. I'm pretty happy with that, guys. So when I turn it over, I grab my HB pencil and I'm just going to shade over my pen line. This gives you the benefit of tracing and also the benefit of being able to trace your own work. One of the things that students say to me the most is, I love following the step-by-step tutorials, but I want to do my own picture. How do I do it? And I know we're doing my picture today, but if you had an idea and somebody taught you how to break that idea down into basic shapes and then taught you how to get it onto your page, then there really is no limit to what you can create. We've got lots of students that start off following the step-by-step tutorials. And then some of them, I'm thinking of Peter in particular, you know, within like 2 weeks, they're like, and I'm doing this other thing. And Bex and Liz and so many people. I don't want to kind of embarrass people either. But I think it's really important to kind of understand what the shapes are. Have somebody explain to you how to get those shapes onto a piece of paper. All right, here's my really lovely brand new watercolor paper. And I'm super confident with my design. I haven't touched my paper with my hands. I've only touched it with the other paper. Now, if you are a little bit kind of shaky, which I am sometimes from coffee, you can get a little bit of tape and you can tape that in place. And now what you're doing with the same lead pencil is you're going back over your black lines. So this is the most therapeutic, fun, easy part because you have full confidence now in your drawing because you've checked it. You're not going to waste your watercolor paper because you have an image that you're really happy with. You've spent a bit of creative problem-solving time with your brain. And you have started a project, and all of that is the endorphins in your brain. So if this is your first time ever doing your own picture on a piece of paper, yeah, sure, it's a picture that we looked at together. It's a picture that I designed, but I'm sure if you Googled it, other people have drawn cocktails before. I'm sure I didn't invent it. I mean, I made up the image and whatnot, but I'm sure I'm not the only one to have done it. So, you know, we're all just doing things that bring us joy. And again, if this is your first time, then I celebrate you and I'm excited for you. And if this is just your 100th time, this is your 40th workshop, ta-ta. We take that off and you'll see it's quite light. And we don't need to go over it to make it any darker because when we put the watercolor on it, we don't want to keep these pencil lines, okay? So you can barely see mine. For Wednesday, I'll have mine a little bit darker so that you can see it, but yours at home should stay really light because it's our intention not to have a heap of pencil lines on our artwork at all. Okay. How are we feeling? This is an A4, yes, Chi Man. This is an A4 or Chai. Step-by-step tutorials, Liz. The umbrella is challenging. I do think that I was particularly challenged by the umbrella as well. I'm not a natural drawer from memory. I did practice this one several times before I got it onto my page. You will have an outline in your email from today, which has the umbrella in it. So you're more than welcome to trace that. In the replay, I'll give you these measurements as well. I do really quickly, I know it's long and I know it's a long lesson, and I respect if you have to go. I want to respect your time as well. This is what you need done by Wednesday, guys. Okay, you need an image on your page. Whoever it was at the beginning, apologies, I'm really bad with names, who said, I've already got it done. You're already ahead. If you get to this point and you're like, I don't like it, and you trace the image that I sent you, fantastic. However you get started is completely 100% fine. I want to show you really quickly how to make grey. So I am going to do that because we do need that for Wednesday. So we're going to go into part 2 of the lesson. I tend to do these workshops and I plan them, and then I think, oh, how can I do more? And then I tend to over deliver. So, you know, it's fun. We've got our colors. Let me put them over here so you can see them. Okay. So what I want you to do to get grey, because we don't have it in our kit, we're actually going to activate our blue. Now, if you haven't done the activate lesson, which is some flower petals, please go into the event tab and do that after this lesson. So we're going to take our paint from our paint palette to our working palette. We're going to add just a brush stroke of water to it to start with. We're going to clean our brush, and then we're going to go into the opposite color of blue on the color wheel. And I don't expect you to know that, except for some of you that are already my students. Now in this kit, it is the Windsor Red, but in other kits, it might be an orange. Okay, so you're just going to have to trial and error out, if you don't have a grey, how to find it. So when you look at a color wheel, it is like it's like an apple pie, and each of the slices cut into the apple pie, the tip of the slice in the middle has an opposite slice of pie. So if I grabbed this piece of pie and I grabbed the opposite slice of pie, and one slice of pie was blue, always the opposite slice of pie is orange. You don't need to memorize that for this workshop. I've got lessons about it inside the membership. Just trust me. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into this orange, which is a darker orange in this kit. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do my favorite thing. We're going to sneak up on it. So put my orange in here. All right, there it is. And the orange is really bright and the blue is really bright. They're opposite colors on the color wheel. But when they meet each other, they're kind of like feuding cousins. When they meet each other, everything's fine for about 2 minutes. But if you leave them unsupervised, they start to turn into grey. It doesn't happen straight away, but it does happen eventually. So here I've added a bit of orange into my blue, and I'll show you this. This is not grey. This is kind of brown. So we've got a neutral kind of brown colour. Now, does brown remind you of orange or blue? For me, it reminds me of orange, which means I don't have enough blue in there. So I'm going to come back into the blue again, and I'm going to sneak up on it. That's looking better. So now we have a little bit more into the grey family, a little bit more purpley coloured. This is a really good mix for a light grey. So what I would do to make it a little bit lighter is add a little bit more water to it. So when we're doing our layering on Wednesday, see how we have some light bits of grey here? We've got these kind of light areas here, but we have some darker areas as well. We need a kind of really nice, soft, light grey colour, and we need to kind of be confident at how we're mixing it as well. So we're just going to keep building it until we feel that it's kind of a nice grey colour. Nice grey is like different for everybody. There we go. Oh, that's a nice one. There we go, I like that. I'm going to put a little bit of extra water with it, put it on my page, and actually, if that was my grey, it's a little bit purple, but if that was my grey from this kit, that would work perfectly fine. But see how initially mixing them together, it is a skill issue. If this is the first time you've ever mixed grey, you're going to end up with brown. Some of you are going to end up with green. Some of you will end up with purple. These things happen. It's not you, it's me. It's not you, it's the paint. The other thing you're going to want is a dark grey. All right, I'm going to let you practice this for homework. I want to see your dark grey and your light grey before Wednesday. To get your dark grey, you want to go back into your blue again. Now, the darker colours, we use less water. So we've got this blue with less water. We've only got the water that's on our brush. And I'm going to go in, I'm going to wake up my dark brown. Remember, we already decided that brown was in the orange family. It was more orangey. So we've already eliminated all of the light tones. So I'm just waking up my dark brown, which is just a Van Dyke brown, but you might have a different kit than me. So whatever dark brown you have. And then we're going to sneak up on this and we're going to try to make a darker grey for these very small little sections. And I'm going to try not to put too much water in this. So I've made a dark brown. I should be very proud. Really beautiful dark brown, look at that. And what do I know about browns? That I need more blues. So I'm going to go into my blue. Still a little bit brown. A bit more into my blue. I'm trying not to get too much water on my brush. Even if you do have a grey, this is a really nice activity to do. And I'm using just the tip of my brush to check. Oh, look at that. Is that nice? That's nice. Slate. Slate colour. A grey colour. Look at that. There we go. Just from using the same colour palette, we can now get these little tiny dark grey triangles. All right, so you've got a lot to practice, but hopefully you are in this workshop because you have thought, I've got the equipment, I've got the paper, I've got the paints. I get a lot of people who are like, oh, I'm looking forward to retire and I want to find something that's going to be, give you a buzz, get that buzz, a hobby that's going to ignite your passion, or maybe you are just you always had that spark to maybe create something. We covered a lot today, but we always do. So you've got your basic shapes. I want you to make sure by Wednesday you have an image on your watercolor paper that you are comfortable with, that doesn't have, and if you listen to nothing else, please just super focus, just this one sentence, not dark pencil lines. okay? An image on your page on Wednesday, and the knowledge, if not the, perfection, but the knowledge of how to make grey. If you're like me and you already have grey in your kit, awesome. If you're like me and you're like, I'm going to go buy some Payne's Grey, fantastic. Go do that. Whatever works for you. If you do, I'm not telling you to go buy a heap of products, especially if you're brand new, but one of the things I do tell my students in the first week of joining with me is that you need to buy a grey and you need to buy a pink. So if you are thinking you're going to continue, and a purple, because I am like purple obsessed. If you are thinking you're going to continue, you're not going to go wrong if you do need a grey, that you go get a grey. But also it's fun to make one. I hope you have enjoyed that. Lesson number 1, thank you for sticking at it with me. Lesson number 1, all about getting rid of that idea that we can't draw, so we can't paint. We can draw, we can use basic shapes, we can trace, we can use formulas, everything that we do. We've got over 200 lessons inside the Unlimited membership, and every single one of those lessons starts with either basic shapes, tracing, or formulas. So once you have those things done, you are set to go. I hope you've enjoyed that. Thank you so much for all your kindness in the chat. Now, some of you are gonna have had really weird margarita glasses, and you have been designing margarita glasses for 1 hour, and you maybe, if you're like me, have been on the earth for more than an hour. So as a human, you have only been practicing margarita glasses for an hour, and you have been practicing other things a lot longer. So please do not take any judgment onto what you have done today. Use it as a starting point. I don't know if we'll be able to share Beck's image. We might be able to show you this. Use it as a starting image. This is my friend Bex, who's also a student of mine, but I'm a little bit in love with her. This is her portrait. This is what she does now, okay? But this is not where she started. This is where she started, in a workshop exactly like what you're in now. She did the ice cream workshop with me probably a few years ago. And she didn't look and go, these are the best ice creams I've ever done in my life. She looked and she went, oh, I think I get it. I think I could do this. I think I enjoy it, or whatever other ideas she had. And then she said, can you please teach me how to do portraits? So anybody who becomes a member and does portraits has Bex to thank, because she made us put the program together. But I just wanted you to know, if you are starting today from a place of, I've always wanted to do this, but I'm not perfect at it yet, then I want you to be thinking that practice makes progress, not perfection. So if you've done it once, you have not practiced it. We need you to practice it a few times before Wednesday, and that's where the joy is going to come from. I hope you have enjoyed that. Thank you for giving me your time. I will be back here on Wednesday. I'll be inside the group to answer any questions that you have. Any questions that you also have, you can put in this chat, because whenever you comment on the chat, Facebook notifies me as well. And so I'll be able to see those as well. Thank you, Kath, for sorting out the video. Michelle said, Michelle, you're so lovely as well. Yeah, she did a great job. She's going to be really cross at herself later because she hates it when stuff goes wrong, but
not later, now.
She's already crossed at herself. It doesn't matter. We did what we said we were going to do. June, it's been helpful to get back to mixing the colours. I'm all for having all the colours in the world, but I do believe that you don't need all the colours in the world to start painting. So I'm glad that you enjoyed that as well. All right, lovely people. See you on Wednesday. Bye.